Good evening. Welcome to the QCIS channel. Where on this channel, you get a daily dose of science, technology, engineering, and math. My name is Leon Jones, and tonight I'm going to talk about the construction industry on what you need to get into the field of construction. Now, I've been working in construction with the military, private sector, and public sector jobs for about 31 years. I've done surveying, computer aided drafting, construction management, materials testing in the lab and in the field. I've also been a project manager, and currently I do quality control and I track materials. Now, when we talk about construction management, is it civil engineering? Now, there are some engineering applications, but there are also business applications to construction management. It's one of the specialized management fields, just like hospitality management. But construction management is a STEM field. In fact, there are programs that are accredited by ANSEC of ABET. Now, most of your construction management programs in college are accredited by ACCE. I think it's the American Council for Construction Engineering or Excellence, which is down in Dallas, Texas. And can you become certified in construction? Well, yes, you can. The Construction Management of America Association, known as CMAA, they also work with schools in ABET, which ABET is the Accreditation Board for Engineering and Technology. Well, construction management, if you want to be a construction manager, here are the two certifications you should get. You should get the CCM, which is the Certified Construction Manager certification. Now, it is good for 3 years, I believe, not 5 years, 3 years. And what you do, you go through different PDHs, professional development hours, so you can keep your certification. Because if you don't, then you have to retake the exam again, and you have to pay more money to take the exam again. Now, you can also get your CPC, your Certified Professional Constructor, or you can get your PMP, your Professional Project Manager, which the two I would actually get. Now, this is barring having an engineering degree, because if you have an engineering degree, the gold standard is you get your PE. Because if you have your PE, particularly in civil engineering or mechanical engineering, well, the other certifications are secondary. Now, let me share my screen, and let's get to the introduction to construction management. Now, I've done other construction management videos, but I have 38 slides here to present, and I'm going to talk about the introduction to construction management in the construction industry. Now, basically, construction managers, they oversee the field operations for the project. Okay, the scope of the industry. Construction is one of the largest industries, accounting for approximately 9% of the gross national product. So the U.S. Department of Labor estimates that there are at least 880,000 construction companies employing 7.7 million people in the United States. Construction impacts the quality of life for every human being. Housing starts, which are identified by building permits issued, are one of the major economic indicators reflecting the overall health and direction of our economy. Now, the historical perspective, well, construction means and methods and motivations have changed over the past 12,000 years. Now, let's take a look at some of the greatest construction accomplishments. Well, you have the ancient times. We already know about the Egypt pyramids and the Sphinx, the Greek influence. Well, the Greek influence was actually, believe it or not, Greek and Rome. They took a lot of their influence from Egypt. Now, you know, Greek with the Parthenon, you know, Rome with the Vatican. Then you have the Middle Ages, then you have the Renaissance, the Industrial Revolution, then you get into the 20th century, and then the age of technology. Again, you've got to go from a historical perspective. So in order to get current, you have to go back to find out where everything started. And then once you understand that, you come current, and then you can predict for the future. Now, the ancient times, construction industry can trace its roots back to at least the Stone Age as early as 12,000 BC. So some of the common materials that were used were mud, wood, and stone. Simple structures to protect from the rain, cold, heat, and snow. Simple shelter grew into planned settlements, cities, and villages. Now you hear this is all stone right here. The dolmens in the Netherlands. Then you see the Skara Braid, Scotland, 3180 BC to 2500 BC. Now notice a lot of these structures that were built in the past, particularly in Italy. Now you have some ruins, and in Egypt, they didn't have the mechanized machines that they do today. But you think about it, their buildings lasted a long time because, again, they used a lot of arches, they used a lot of stone, they did use mud, just like it was presented, but it's how they did it. And they didn't have electricity either. So they had to use the sun. They had stone hinges. Egypt and the pyramids. Egyptians began to use stone material as the primary building material. The master builder, and that's the concept that involved all three disciplines: architecture, engineering, and construction embodied in one person. So the Code of Hammurabi, first known building code recorded from 1792 to 1750 BC, it dictated workable standards for the master builder. See, now you're getting into an area where you had some type of standards. And here's what the Code of the Hammurabi looked like. And here are the Great Pyramids of Giza, El Giza, Egypt, still standing. Now the Greek influence. Now we all know about the Parthenon. Now, if you look at some of the government buildings here in the United States, they do resemble some Greek architecture. I know the Capitol building here in Indianapolis, and some of your courthouse buildings in like in Lebanon and Chicago. Look at the White House. Look at the Capitol building in DC. Well, Greek masters started to organize skilled stonemasons. It developed into the building trades concept where a particular building is honed to a level of expertise associated with a master craftsman. So, in this, you have many beautiful temples were made of marble and limestone. And again, the Greek influence can still be seen today in many modern buildings. Now, if you look at the top, that's the Parthenon in Athens, Greece. Now, there is a replica of the Parthenon in Nashville. It looks just like the Parthenon in Athens, Greece. Now, you look at what the old buildings in Greece had. They had a lot of columns, held the building up. Well, you look at the White House. You have the columns. That's Greek influence. Now we get into the Roman Empire. And they had the early form of concrete, and that was invented by the Romans. It consisted of a pastry, hydrated lime, and pozzolan ash mixture from rock. Now, something that the Romans did, Romans began adding domes and arches to their buildings. And the first glass was also incorporated in the first century AD. Something else, road construction was another high mark of the Roman Empire. Marcus Vitruvius Pollio wrote the first design and construction handbook around 40 BC. A lot of people didn't know that. So, and this is 2,000 years ago, they had their own specifications. Most of us don't know that. We're not even taught that in engineering school. Now, you look at the first road from the Roman Empire, that looked like it was made out of actual stone. And you have the Roman Colosseum from 70 to 80 AD, Rome, Italy, still standing today. Then we get into the Middle Ages. And we get right around, I'd say, the 10th century AD. Well, right around 900 AD, the Roman Catholic Church revitalized stone construction, building churches and cathedrals throughout Europe. And what we see here, we see craft training and education became a major focus. Craft guilds were organized, and the two most important trades were. As we get down here, you have three distinct stages of ability: master, journeyman, and apprentice. Now, you've heard that from somewhere. That's in the Masons. And what's the Masons' plan? They go off of construction. The Bible is the Masons' plan. Well, if you look at the Nidaros Cathedral in Trondheim, Norway, this is the architecture. And then you had the 13th century church in Aksa, Hungary. So we are going from the stone, now we're utilizing arches and cathedrals. And then we get to the Renaissance period. So the master builder began to be questioned as the most efficient way to build. So you had Leone Battista Alberti, considered by many to be the persecutor of the modern day architect, argued that he could create the drawings and models as a direct master craftsman without actually being involved in the building process. He lived 68 years, 1404 to 1472. Then we start to get up to the Industrial Revolution, where we have building science as a discipline began to emerge. So we had various building professionals took increasingly defined roles. So this is where you saw the actual art of architecture, science of engineering, and the craft of building process. So instead of stone, we went into cast iron and wrought iron, and that became the building choice, the building materials of choice. And something else, when we mentioned industrial, new machinery and equipment were also being invented to support buildings, like the Iron Bridge Gorge in England, the Iron Bridge at Coalbrookdale, first iron cast Bridge, it was built in 1779. Moving on. Then we get into the 19th century, the age of the skyscraper. So during the late 1800s, production of steel and electricity took off. Steel framing replaced iron framing and allowed for high rise building. Portland cement and reinforced concrete were invented. That's not that long ago. Glass became mass produced and used to clad many of the new building frames. E.G. Otis invented the first passenger elevator. Now, when we talk about skyscrapers, we talk about the Sears Tower in Chicago. We talk about the Home Insurance Building in Chicago, first skyscraper, 1885. Then we talk about one of the icons built in 1925. That was the Empire State Building in New York City. Then we get to the 20th century. We start looking at structures like the Golden Gate Bridge. So construction boom in the United States. And what happened? It led to need for housing, industry, and infrastructure. So in the 20th century, we saw the coming of building code standards and specifications. They were established to help regulate and control the quality of materials and methods. And in 1965, representatives from 9 universities met in Florida to form the Association Schools of Construction. And today, there are approximately 124-year colleges and universities listed with ASC. Now we go even further. We are now in the age of technology. So computer technology advancing to aid construction. So we get into scheduling software, estimating software, project administration. We have BIM, building information modeling. And basically that is a digital representation of the physical and functional characteristics of a building displayed as a 3D model. And then it's also with BIM, there's added capability to integrate a whole array of design and construction data. See right here in this slide, this is a building that shows the complexity of the mechanical units of a building. And that's done by using BIM. Now there's a software out, Autodesk makes it, it's called Revit. You can do anything with Revit. There's 7 schedules with Revit. Now we get into the industry sectors. So one aspect or one thing you need to know about construction. Each sector is characterized by different means, methods, and materials of construction. So there are 5 basic sectors of the industry. You have your residential building, your commercial building, your heavy civil construction, your industrial construction, and you're also looking at today environmental construction. So when we deal with residential building, well, what we're doing is we're addressing the housing needs of a society. Housing construction takes many forms. So we have individual homes, apartments, condominiums, townhouses, prefabricated units. And you can see here a typical housing tract. That's a subdivision. That's the suburbs. A lot of suburbs became popular after World War II. So we're looking at the start of the baby boomers from the 40s all the way to today. Also, relatively low tech in terms of means and methods. Hammers, nails, and saws make up the primary tools and equipment needed. Building materials are typically wood products such as lumber and plywood. Now, that's what we call wood framing, and that is still used today for a lot of your residential construction. Then we get into commercial building, and we address the needs of commerce, trade, and government. Makes up about 1/3 of the total construction market. So within commercial building, there is a special construction process, and it's basically utilized in the building of commercial buildings. Examples, we have your glazers, pipe fitters, and iron workers. So the 3 basic building materials associated with commercial construction are steel, concrete, and glass. And you can see examples in this PowerPoint. Then we get into, if you work for DOT or Department of Public Works, heavy construction, or we call it heavy civil construction. That's also when we deal with residential and buildings that are commercial, we call that vertical construction. But when we get into heavy civil construction, or we refer to it as horizontal construction, we're talking about highway construction or the civil sector. So we deal with roadways, bridges, tunnels, dams, airports, and railways. So equipment and operators play a huge role in the work of a heavy civil project. And some materials are asphalt, gravel, concrete, sand, and dirt make up the primary materials used in the heavy civil construction industry. And as you see in the PowerPoints, you see how a bridge is built. You see how backfill is removed. And of course, put back. Typically, publicly funded projects, they take a long time. That's generally with your DOT because they have to go through a lot of paperwork. They're government projects. The government owns it. Industrial construction, heavy specialized sector that requires firms with vast resources and engineering expertise. So industrial buildings are often very basic in their exterior design. The installation of equipment makes up a big piece of the industrial construction process. Primary components, we have steel, concrete, reinforced masonry, and specialized equipment. And we deal with steel framing. And some huge facilities could take many years to complete. They're building in Lebanon, Indiana, Eli Lilly. And I've already seen 6 buildings, so it's going to take a couple of years to finish. But that's going to be one of Eli's facilities. Of course, the headquarters of Eli Lilly is downtown Indianapolis. All right, let's talk about environmental construction, comprised of projects that improve the environment, maintain public health, and communities contribute to they basically contribute to a community's quality of life. Again, environmental construction is comprised of projects that improve the environment to maintain public health and they contribute to a community's quality of life. There's a great deal of earth moving and site work that usually takes place along with trenching, pipe laying, tunneling, and other means of excavation. Now, in addition to a combination of commercial, industrial, and heavy civil materials, specialized materials such as pumps, valves, filters, membranes, and aerators are also required within this sector. And you can see what the projects look like. They're often publicly funded projects. Lots of time will be spent dealing with governmental and regulatory agencies. Now, we've dealt with the history of construction. Now we've dealt with the different types of construction. Now we're going to get into the players. So who are the players? The owners, design professionals, the construction professionals, and then there are secondary players. So when we deal with the owners, they're the driving force behind the construction industry. So basically there are 2 types of owners. Public owners, they're the ones who typically run the government agencies like your FHWA, your IDEM, or your PennDOTs, or your DPWs. Then you have your private owners. And public owners can vary from federal government, state government, or even city municipals. Private owners can vary from homeowners to businesses. Now, the owners. So basically, after determining need and deciding to build, the owner is accountable for four primary duties. Number one, developing a program and outlining the needs and requirements of the end users. Number two, determining the quantity, extent, and character of the project by defining the scope of work. Number three, creating the overall budget for the project, including land acquisition if necessary, development, design, and construction cost. And number four, providing the funding for the project and making periodic payments to the designers and the contractor. Now, let's get to the design professionals. Now, basically, there are two types of professional designers that are engaged in the construction process. You have the architects, they deal with the function, life, safety issues, and aesthetics of the building. And engineers, they deal with the systems, what's going to make the building run. Design professionals, primary responsibilities of the designers, they assist the owner in developing the facility program and determining end user needs and requirements. They also advise the owner regarding the image and character of the facility and establishing broad design goals. Also assist the owner in selecting products to fit the program and the budget. They also advise the owner on special and aesthetic issues and generating graphic solutions to problems. And they develop the final building plans, construction details, and specifications that are going to be needed for the project. Construction professionals responsible for all of the construction activities. So basically, the constructor's job is to interpret the plans and specifications and prepare cost estimates and time schedules to meet the requirements of the owner. They also determine and implement the best construction practices, means, methods to satisfy the owner's requirements for time, cost, and quality. And they oversee and manage all of the construction operations into a single, safe, coordinated effort. Then we deal with the secondary players. Now, the first level players, they include the subcontractors, material suppliers, and equipment vendors. This layer directly influences the outcome of a job. This level has contractual connections to either the construction professionals or the design professionals. And basically, your subcontractors are your specialty contractors. They'll deal with your mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. And then you also have inspectors to inspect the work to make sure that all of the construction is being met via the plans and specifications. All right. Now, second level players, we dealt with the first level players, but second level players, they include the insurance companies, utility companies, bonding companies, building code officials, zoning, labor unions, and manufacturers. This level has no contractual connection or obligation to any of the three primary parties. And then we have the third level players, and that includes the courts and attorneys, local government, state and federal government, trade associations, education and training, bankers, and others. This level does influence construction projects on a regular basis. Now, as you know, construction is always in transition, and the construction industry has changed its image around through various construction associations, and one of them being the AGC, which is the Associated General Constructions, and that has developed an exciting campaign called Construction Futures to help inform and educate youngsters about the career opportunities in the construction industry. And there are a lot of opportunities. You have to be willing to want them. and you don't need a college degree. Yes, it helps in some positions, but you can come in and be a laborer and work for the ground up, become a foreman, after you're a laborer, and even a superintendent. All right, the construction industry has changed its image around through various construction organizations. Another one, it's called NAHB, the National Association of Home Builders. It created a public service campaign called Home Builders Care to recognize contractors who have contributed millions of dollars in cash, building materials, supplies, and countless volunteers to community charities through local community service products. Again, that's NAHB, the National Association of Home Builders. Again, the construction industry has another association. It's called ABC, the Associated Builders and Contractors. They initiated the ABC Cares to recognize chapters that contribute significantly to their communities. Then we get into globalization. So in the late 1970s, 80% of the world's construction was being built in the United States. In 1997, 80% of the world's construction was occurring on foreign soil. So the engineering news record known as the ENR is the only weekly construction magazine that reaches a global audience. Now, I will say this when it comes to construction here. As we go down here, and I'm going to tell you how you can get in the construction industry, certifications. Just let me go ahead and continue to scroll down here. So down here were the ABC. You'll see a lot of these signs. NAHB, you'll see that sign. AGC. Well, one thing you want to do in construction is you want to network. You want to get in some organizations like the American Society of Civil Engineers, the Construction Management Association of America. I've done videos on these organizations. Networking is big in this industry because it's a lot of competition in construction. Now, I will say this. To get to certain positions in construction, it's just like the hospitality industry. You want to get some experience. And once you get that experience, go get some education. Yes, it's good to work from the ground up, but it's going to take you a longer time, which you can do what I did. I got experience, then I got the degrees, and then I was able to position myself. Now, what you need to do as well, once you get the experience and the credentials, get certifications. Because when it comes to construction, we look at it as you're using your hands every day. You don't. You have some that use their hands and some that design by drawing, estimating, inspecting, calculating. Construction is made up of a team that their job is to build a project based on the construction specifications, and they are to build it on time and under budget. Again, we dealt with the globalization, because right now we are dealing with a lot of globalization. And now we go from the globalization to now we're in the green sector. See how we've gone? We've gone from the early construction with stone, now we're in green. Sustainability, because in recent years, a voluntary market-driven building rating system is called the Leadership on Energy and Environmental Design, LEED. The program has been developed. Now, over in England, they have BREEAM, BREEM. Now, what we do with the efficiency, in 1993, a group of contractors started to apply lean principles to the construction industry. Lean principles stem from the manufacturing industry with principles of focusing on creating more value for customers with less work and the elimination of waste. Now, they got that name lean from the manufacturing sector because they use a lot of lean as well. Now, when we deal with lean, we're talking about defects, lead time, cost, inventory, space, waste. You hear that in the industrial sector. Also, you hear improvements in productivity, customer satisfaction, capacity, responsiveness, quality, and of course, profit. And here's my favorite, career opportunities. Now, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics, excellent employment opportunities are expected for construction managers. Well, it says through 2016. I'm going to say through 2030. Now, the number of construction management jobs is expected to increase by 16% compared to 11% for all industries combined. Now, I will tell you this, construction can also be very volatile if the economy goes bad. So if that happens, this is when you see sectors like renovation come into play and maintenance come into play. Also, educational offerings. The ideal construction management candidate is typically an individual who has a bachelor's degree or higher in construction management, construction engineering, or construction science. The Association Schools of Construction or the Associated Schools of Construction, known as the ASC. They list about 120 colleges and universities offering 4-year accredited degree programs. You can also go to a community college and get a 2-year associate's degree. And from there, you can also go to a 4-year degree or keep your 2-year. But if you're going to start with some education, I'd go ahead and start at the associate's level because you can take all the lower level classes at the community college or at a community college much cheaper than you would at a 4-year university, and then you can transfer. But if you like the college life, you can start everything at a 4-year institution. And something else, I've already mentioned it, personal affiliation and surveying. So we have the AIC, the American Institute of Constructors, and it helps individual contractors who meet the requirements to achieve professional status through an examination and certification program. Now, you have the CMAA and the AIC. Now, the AIC is the certifying body for the designation of CPC, the Certified Professional Constructor, or the AC, the Associate Constructor. And then you have, again, the Construction Management Association of America. CMAA is dedicated to promoting the professional practice of construction management. The organization welcomes members from all construction and design disciplines, as well as owners and various service providers to the industry. The CMAA offers certification through its Certified Construction Manager program. Very good organizations, and my opinion too. All these certification bodies, you want to know how they can help your career? Be part of those organizations, be on a board of those organizations, and you'll network. See, construction isn't going anywhere, it's always changing. In order for you to stay in this field, you have to be able to change with the times. This means you need to get your computer skills up, your education up. You need certifications. If you're an engineer or an architect, you need your license. You need to understand the standards and specifications. As you saw through the slide production that I presented to you, you saw how construction started using stone. no machinery. Then you saw the different times like the Renaissance period, the Industrial Revolution. That's how construction changes. And construction is going to continue to change. Now, I've seen some houses in construction built utilizing a 3D printer. Technology changes before your eyes. This is why you have to keep educating yourself. And when you get your certifications, the reason why they want you to do the PDHs, which are your professional development hours or your construction education units, you get credit toward basically renewing your certification, but you're also learning the new trends that are taking place within your industry. Again, anybody, if they enjoy building something or designing something, they can get into the construction industry. There are a lot of opportunities. You can travel, you can work for the private sector, you can work for the public sector, you can even become an entrepreneur. You can do big projects, you can do small projects, you can do environmental, industrial, you name it. Construction is always there. But in the end, you want to get in this field, the main thing is you got to enjoy what you do. You have to know how the field works. You have to network. You need the experience, and I'm just giving you my humble opinion. You need the experience and you need the technical expertise. You need credentials. You have to make yourself marketable in this industry. And that's really with every industry, but here I'm just focusing on the construction industry because I work in it. It's a good industry, but it has its ups and downs as well. Now, a question that is always posed to me is, should I get a college degree? Well, that just depends on you. Now, I will say this, a college degree will take you a lot further. Now, let me say this. Let's talk about construction management. Well, you can get a degree in construction management, but I prefer my degree to have engineering or engineering technology in it. Why? Because if you have a civil engineer, an architect, architectural engineer, a construction engineer, they can become construction managers. Why? Because in their curriculum, they're going to take some of the construction coursework. In fact, some of the programs have electives. Like I'll give you civil engineering. You could take structural design. You could take construction management, land development. An engineer, in my opinion, I'm just giving you my forthright opinion, is going to have the most stability. Why? Because if the economy goes belly up, a construction manager, they're going to be out of a job a little faster. Why? Because, see, most construction managers, unless they have some surveying experience or some drafting experience, their whole career is to oversee projects. Now, of course, what makes construction unique is the economy could go bad here, but be great somewhere else. And the person with a construction management degree or an engineering degree could go to another country. But going to another country, you have to understand their specifications, their drawings, and something else that you have to understand. You need to know the construction math when you're dealing with quantities. You need to know units. See, here in America, and there's another country out there, we use Old English. Mainly, we use inches, feet, we use yards, where most countries use metric. So you're going to have to learn a metric system if you go to a foreign country. But other than that, that concludes this presentation on an introduction to construction management. If you like what I presented, please comment, share, and subscribe. And if you're looking for some political and social content, you can check out my main channel, the 411 Talk Zone radio show. Now, here's where you can find me. If you want to watch my content on a 401 Talk Zone radio show, it's available on YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, Rumble, and Truth Social. If you want to watch my content on the QCIS channel, well, the QCIS channel is available also on YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, and of course, LinkedIn. And again, thank you for viewing this content on an introduction to construction management. Now, I'm just call it the introduction to construction management and its history based on the PowerPoint. And again, thank you for viewing this content regarding construction right here from the QCIS channel. We're on this channel. You get a daily dose of science, technology, engineering, and math. And until next time, my name is Leon Jones. I want you all to have a wonderful and gracious evening.